There is a strength in silence that many fail to understand. It is not the silence of indifference or the silence of weakness, but the silence of resilience and quiet endurance. The woman who carries her pain in silence does not wear her struggles on her sleeve, nor does she seek attention for the battle she faces. Instead, she moves through life with a quiet power unseen by many, but undeniable in its depth. Her pain is not a burden to be shared or a cry for sympathy, but a part of who she is, a part that has shaped her, refined her, and strengthened her. Yet, in her silence, she remains steadfast, standing tall in the face of adversity. She carries her pain with grace, not because it doesn't hurt, but because she has learned to live with it. In her stillness, there is strength. In her quiet, there is power. And in her journey, there is a profound lesson for us all. The most powerful woman is often the one who endures the most, yet says the least. Strength in silence is a concept many struggle to comprehend. In a world that often equates loud voices with power, the quiet strength of a woman carrying her pain goes unnoticed. She doesn't need to raise her voice or demand attention to prove her worth. Her silence isn't a sign of submission or weakness. It's a reflection of self-discipline and control over her emotions. She doesn't need to scream her pain to let it be known. Her mere presence speaks volumes about her resilience. Strength in silence is about having the courage to endure without requiring validation from anyone else. In silence, there is an unwavering determination. The woman who carries her pain in silence chooses not to let her circumstances define her. She's not silent because she's afraid. She's silent because she understands that not every battle needs to be fought in the open. There is power in maintaining composure, even when everything within her is telling her to break. Her strength isn't in her ability to stay silent alone, but in her ability to maintain her dignity while she fights through the storm within. Her silence is also a form of protection. She guards her peace by choosing not to reveal her every wound to the world. She knows that sharing her pain with the wrong people could leave her vulnerable. Her silence is her shield, and it's her choice when and how she opens up. She understands that some battles are better fought alone. Not everything needs to be publicized, especially when you're fighting for your mental and emotional survival. Sometimes silence is the only way to communicate what words cannot express. A woman carrying her pain in silence doesn't need to explain her feelings to everyone around her. She lets her actions speak for themselves. The strength in silence comes from the ability to stand firm and keep moving forward despite the weight she carries. People may not know what she's going through, but the way she moves, the way she keeps pushing through her day, shows that she's not defeated. There is an undeniable grace in the woman who carries her pain in silence. She doesn't feel the need to broadcast her struggles to gain sympathy. Instead, she demonstrates a quiet fortitude that commands respect. Her silence makes her a force as she chooses to rise above her circumstances without drawing attention to her suffering. It's a strength that radiates through every step she takes, reminding the world that strength isn't always loud. It's often quiet, humble, and unyielding. In silence, she also finds space for reflection and growth. When the world is loud, it's hard to hear your own thoughts, but in the silence, she processes her pain, gains clarity, and finds the inner strength to heal. The woman who carries her pain in silence knows that sometimes the best way to move forward is to take a step back and listen to her own heart. Her silence is where she learns who she is and who she's capable of becoming. Her silence is also an invitation for others to recognize her power. She doesn't have to announce her struggles for them to be real. She doesn't need to explain herself because at the core, she knows her own worth. Her silence is a statement she doesn't need validation from anyone to know that she is strong, capable, and worthy of respect. In a world that often rewards loudness and visibility, her quiet strength is a powerful reminder that not all strength is meant to be seen. The woman who carries her pain in silence is a warrior, but her battlefield is invisible. Her battle doesn't play out in front of the world, but in the quiet corners of her mind and heart. Every day, she wakes up and faces a struggle that no one else sees. This is a battle she chooses to fight alone, but it doesn't mean it's any less real or difficult. She's not seeking sympathy or attention, but she's still fighting with every ounce of her being. Her strength lies in how she moves forward, even when she's carrying a burden that no one else understands. The pain she carries isn't something that can be easily fixed or solved. It's not a problem that can be patched up with words or quick solutions. Her battle is deep, internal, and personal. No one knows the emotional toll it takes on her every single day. She's not asking for help, she's simply navigating her own pain with the quiet resolve of someone who understands that some battles are fought within. She's learned to keep moving forward, even when her heart is broken and her mind is wearied. Despite the fact that others may never see her struggle, she keeps going. The pain she carries is a part of her, but it doesn't define her. It might slow her down, but it never stops her. There's an immense amount of strength in this kind of persistence. The woman who carries her pain in silence may not show her wounds, but she's constantly healing them. She's constantly in a process of growth and recovery, and while the world doesn't see it, every step she takes is a victory over her inner battles. Her hidden battles are sometimes the hardest to win because they're fought without an audience. There's no one there to cheer her on, no one to acknowledge her victories, but she doesn't need that. She doesn't need validation from others to keep going. The true measure of her strength is how she faces her struggles head on, alone but never defeated. She finds solace in knowing that even if no one else understands, she understands herself. She knows how to survive her own pain. For some, a visible battle is easier to endure. If you can see the wounds, if you can witness the pain, it becomes easier to seek support or sympathy. But for the woman carrying her pain in silence, the battle is more insidious. It's easy for others to overlook her because her suffering is invisible. The lack of recognition can feel isolating, but she learns to carry the weight in a way that allows her to continue without becoming paralyzed by it. The quiet nature of her suffering makes her even more remarkable. Her resilience comes from the understanding that healing isn't always instant. It takes time and it happens in moments, not all at once. Her healing is subtle and ongoing, much like the silent work she does every day. Each day that she continues to move forward, despite the invisible weight she carries, is a testament to her strength. It's easy to admire someone who is physically strong, but the woman who battles her pain in silence is often more formidable because she has to endure without acknowledgement or praise. The hidden battle of the woman who carries her pain in silence is not for the faint of heart. It's for the strong, the resilient, and the unyielding. She fights with a quiet ferocity that's unmatched, and even though no one sees it, she continues to fight because that's what makes her who she is. She is not defined by her pain, but by the strength it takes to face it every single day. She doesn't need validation from others to know her worth. In fact, the woman who carries her pain in silence is the epitome of resilience because she has learned to stand on her own. She doesn't wait for others to tell her she's strong. She doesn't need applause or recognition to keep moving forward. Her inner strength comes from knowing that no one else can define her. She defines herself through her actions, through her resilience, and through the quiet determination to keep pushing despite everything that tries to bring her down. It's easy to rely on others for validation when things get tough. When we're in pain, we want someone to acknowledge it, to offer sympathy, or to validate our feelings. But the woman who carries her pain in silence has learned that true strength comes from within. She doesn't need someone else to tell her that what she's going through matters. She already knows. She knows her pain is real, and that's all she needs to keep moving forward. Validation from others is a bonus, but it's not essential to her journey. There's an incredible freedom in being able to rely on your own resilience. When you don't need validation from the outside world, you free yourself from the chains of dependence. The woman who carries her pain in silence has mastered this freedom. She doesn't wait for anyone to acknowledge her strength because she already knows what she's capable of. She moves through life with a sense of purpose, knowing that her worth isn't dependent on others' approval. She gives herself the validation she needs. Resilience without validation is a quiet kind of power. It's the strength to continue when the world isn't watching. It's the courage to face the hardest battles without seeking recognition. In a world that often measures success and strength by the applause of others, the woman who carries her pain in silence teaches us that true resilience isn't about being seen, it's about being strong even when no one is watching. Her strength lies in her ability to keep going even when there's no external reinforcement. When you rely on validation from others, your sense of self-worth becomes fragile. If no one acknowledges you, it's easy to doubt yourself, to question your own strength. But the woman who doesn't need validation from others is unshakable. Her belief in herself is unwavering. She doesn't need anyone to tell her she's strong because she already knows. This inner strength becomes a foundation that no one can shake, no matter how hard life gets. By learning to validate herself, the woman who carries her pain in silence creates a resilience that's indestructible. Her confidence doesn't depend on the opinions of others. She's grounded in her own truth, and that truth is powerful. She knows that no matter how tough life gets, she has everything she needs within her to keep moving forward. This is the kind of resilience that can weather any storm, and it's built on the foundation of self-validation and inner strength. In a world where people often seek attention or recognition for their struggles, the woman who carries her pain in silence teaches us a valuable lesson. True strength comes from within. It doesn't need to be acknowledged by anyone else to be real. She is proof that resilience isn't about external validation, it's about knowing your worth and never letting anyone or anything diminish it. Her pain doesn't define her, it refines her. The woman who carries her pain in silence knows that pain, while uncomfortable, is a catalyst for growth. It is through her struggles that she evolves. She doesn't allow her pain to consume her. Instead, she uses it as a source of transformation. With every trial, she learns more about herself and the world around her. Pain shapes her into a stronger, more resilient version of herself, but it does not determine her value. She carries her scars with pride because they represent the battle she has fought and won. Her pain is not something to be ashamed of. She understands that pain is universal, and it is through our pain that we learn the most about life and about ourselves. She has come to view her suffering as a teacher, one that imparts lessons of resilience, patience, and inner strength. Each experience of pain becomes an opportunity for her to deepen her wisdom and fortify her spirit. She learns how to face her challenges head on, drawing from the lessons that her pain provides. Pain is no longer her enemy, it's her ally in the journey of becoming who she is meant to be. In her silence, she redefines what pain means. It's not a curse, but a refining force. It may hurt in the moment, but it ultimately shapes her into a more compassionate, empathetic, and stronger woman. She takes what is difficult and uses it to sharpen herself, just as a sword is tempered in fire. Her pain becomes part of her strength, and with every passing day, she gets stronger because of it. It's a quiet but powerful transformation that happens beneath the surface, where no one can see, but it's evident in how she carries herself. The transformation of pain is not about forgetting or suppressing it. It's about integrating the lessons learned from it into her daily life. The woman who carries her pain in silence knows that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. She can choose to let it define her, or she can choose to let it refine her. Through silence, she works to turn every ounce of pain into wisdom, every tear into strength, and every moment of suffering into a stepping stone toward her better self. She recognizes that some pains don't have immediate solutions, but that doesn't mean she's stuck. It means she's on a path of self-discovery, learning from the challenges and finding ways to transform them into opportunities. This mindset is powerful because it allows her to remain open to growth, even in her darkest moments. Her pain may be heavy, but it's never a burden. It's a tool for personal evolution. With every experience of pain, she becomes more attuned to her own resilience. She discovers what she's capable of, and each day she survives her pain, she gains more insight into her own inner strength. Her pain no longer has the power to define her. It's a part of her, yes, but it no longer controls her. Instead, she controls it. She uses it to fuel her growth, to become wiser, and to build a future that is stronger than her past. Ultimately, her pain becomes a badge of honor. It's not something she hides, but something she wears proudly because she knows what it took to survive it. She knows how much strength, courage, and determination it took to overcome it. And with that knowledge, she moves forward with confidence, knowing that no pain will ever have the power to break her again. She's learned to rely on herself for healing and growth. The woman who carries her pain in silence understands that the path to healing is not always paved by others. While support from others is valuable, she knows that the true power to heal lies within her. She's not waiting for someone to rescue her, she's learning to rescue herself. She doesn't rely on others' opinions or sympathies to validate her feelings. Instead, she turns inward to the place where her strength truly resides. She trusts herself to find the way through her struggles, knowing that no one else can truly understand her journey. Self-reliance is an essential part of her character. She's not the type to wallow in self-pity or wait for someone else to fix her problems. She takes ownership of her own healing. She recognizes that, although others may offer support, the responsibility for her growth rests in her hands. She does not seek to escape her pain, but instead she embraces it and works through it. She understands that healing is a process, one that requires patience, introspection, and most importantly, trust in herself. The woman who carries her pain in silence doesn't need anyone to tell her that it's okay to hurt. She knows that it's okay to feel the weight of her struggles, but she also knows that it's not okay to remain stuck in them. She's learned how to keep moving forward, even when it feels like she's standing still. She knows that growth comes from within and that it's not always about external circumstances, but rather about her internal mindset. Her ability to rely on herself means that she's never dependent on others to dictate her happiness or her sense of peace. There's a deep sense of pride in her self-reliance. It's not arrogance, it's self-respect. She doesn't need others to approve of her decisions or validate her strength. She knows what she's capable of, and that's enough. She doesn't feel the need to explain herself or justify her actions. She trusts her own instincts and has learned to listen to her inner voice. In silence, she's learned to become her own biggest supporter, her own therapist, and her own healer. She's built a relationship with herself that doesn't rely on others for affirmation. Her self-reliance isn't about shutting others out, it's about finding the strength to handle what's within her control. It's about taking responsibility for her own life, even when the world outside feels chaotic. She's learned to make decisions that align with her values, to stand firm in the face of adversity, and to trust herself when the path forward isn't clear. This inner strength allows her to rise above her pain, to use it as a stepping stone rather than an obstacle. The woman who relies on herself is a quiet force, standing firm in her own belief in her capability. She doesn't need the validation of others to know she's capable of overcoming anything life throws her way. She knows that no matter how difficult the road gets, she has everything she needs inside her to navigate it. And in that self-reliance, she finds peace because she knows that even when the world fails her, she will never fail herself. In the end, self-reliance is a powerful tool for resilience. It allows her to face challenges with confidence, knowing that she doesn't need anyone else's permission to move forward. She is her own guide, her own protector, and her own champion. And through that self-reliance, she finds the strength to face anything and everything with grace and dignity. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means the power to endure without seeking attention. The woman who carries her pain in silence is not weak. She is a silent powerhouse. Her ability to endure the toughest challenges without crying out for help speaks volumes about her strength. She doesn't need to scream her struggles to the world because she knows that strength is about enduring the storm, not about drawing attention to the wind. In a world that often equates power with noise, the silent woman's strength is often overlooked. But the truth is, it's in her silence that she holds the most power. There is power in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. The woman who carries her pain in silence has mastered this. She knows that her silence is not a sign of submission or fear, but a sign of control. She chooses her battles wisely, speaking when it's necessary and staying quiet when she knows that her voice is better reserved for moments that truly matter. Her silence is not passive, it's active. She uses it to observe, to think, and to process the world around her. In silence, she finds clarity, and in that clarity, she finds her power. In a world that rewards attention and recognition, the woman who carries her pain in silence teaches us that true power doesn't need to be seen to be real. Her strength is evident in the way she carries herself through the world without fanfare, without drama, but with an undeniable presence. She doesn't need to announce her struggles or victories because the way she lives her life speaks for itself. Her actions, her choices, and her demeanor are all testaments to the silent power she holds. Silence also allows her to conserve her energy. She doesn't waste it on unnecessary arguments or explaining herself to people who don't understand. She saves her energy for the battles that matter most. In silence, she has the ability to step back, observe, and strategize. She doesn't rush into things or make decisions impulsively. She takes her time, knowing that sometimes is the most powerful weapon she has. People may look at her and assume that her silence means weakness, but the woman who carries her pain in silence knows the truth. She knows that her silence is the key to her power. It allows her to endure, to grow, and to move forward with grace. Her silence is a declaration of strength, a statement that says, I don't need your validation. I am enough just as I am. In silence, she also finds peace. The world is loud and the constant noise can drown out your thoughts and clarity. But the woman who carries her pain in silence has learned the value of quiet. It's in her silence that she finds her center, where she can reconnect with herself and with her purpose. The world can be chaotic, but she has learned to find peace within the storm. And in that peace, she finds the strength to carry on. Her silence is not empty, it's filled with purpose. It's in her silence that she finds her greatest power. And that power, though unseen, is the force that propels her forward, allowing her to face whatever challenges come her way with unwavering strength and resilience. Just because you can't see her pain doesn't mean it isn't there. The woman who carries her pain in silence knows that not everything is visible to the eye. Her struggles are not always apparent to those around her. While she may smile, laugh, and move through the world with apparent ease, there is a depth to her that many fail to see. Beneath her calm exterior is a world of emotions, thoughts, and struggles that no one else is privy to. She's not hiding her pain, she's managing it in her own way. Her pain may not be visible, but it is real. She's not the type to wear her emotions on her sleeve or cry out for sympathy. Instead, she keeps her struggles to herself, handling them privately and with dignity. This doesn't mean she's pretending to be okay. It means she's choosing to deal with her pain in a way that doesn't burden others. She has mastered the art of managing her struggles in silence. knowing that not every battle needs to be shared with the world. There's a strength in managing pain without making it the focal point of every conversation. The woman who carries her pain in silence chooses not to allow her pain to define her interaction. She doesn't want pity or sympathy. She simply wants to live her life as fully as possible, even though she's dealing with things no one knows about. And in that decision, she demonstrates incredible strength. She may not seek attention, but that doesn't mean her strength isn't obvious to those who understand. Just because her pain is invisible doesn't mean it doesn't affect her. It's easy to assume that someone who appears to be fine is fine. But for the woman who carries her pain in silence, the reality is far more complex. She's learned to live with her pain, not because she's numb to it, but because she knows how to manage it. She doesn't let her pain control her. Instead, she's learned how to live with it, how to navigate the world while carrying it. This silent struggle is a testament to her strength and resilience. The unseen struggles she faces are a constant reminder that we never know the full story of someone else's life. The woman who carries her pain in silence teaches us not to judge others based on appearances. Just because someone looks okay on the outside doesn't mean they aren't fighting a battle inside. She's learned to keep going even when the weight feels unbearable and to carry on without complaint. Her strength comes from within, and it's something that can't be seen but can be felt by those who are paying attention. Her silent struggle is not a cry for help, it's a declaration of independence. She's learned to live with her pain without allowing it to dictate her actions. Her ability to carry on despite her struggles is a sign of her resilience. While others may give in to their pain, she fights through it, using it as fuel to propel herself forward. The woman who carries her pain in silence knows that struggles are part of life, and it's not the struggles that define her, but how she responds to them. The fact that her pain is unseen doesn't make it any less real. It simply means that she's learned how to manage it on her own. She's taken ownership of her own struggles, and that's where her true strength lies. It's in her ability to carry the burden of pain unseen by others, but still moving forward with grace and dignity. The woman who carries her pain in silence knows that true strength often comes from standing alone. She doesn't rely on the world to validate her worth, nor does she need others to understand the depth of her struggles. She's learned the importance of standing tall even when no one is there to hold her up. In those moments of solitude, she finds her power, her ability to endure, to thrive, and to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the weight of the world is too much to bear. Her strength isn't loud or boastful, it's quiet and resolute. She doesn't need to explain herself or justify her actions. She stands on her own because she knows that sometimes the most powerful thing she can do is to simply be present in her own life, even when the world isn't watching. This quiet resilience is the foundation of her strength. It's in those moments of solitude that she finds her true self strong, capable, and unwavering. The woman who carries her pain in silence doesn't ask for sympathy, but she does ask for understanding. She doesn't need people to feel sorry for her or to fix what's broken inside her. What she seeks is a deeper level of understanding, a recognition that her silence doesn't mean she's fine, nor does it mean she doesn't need support. It simply means that she's navigating her journey in a way that works for her. What she asks for is not pity, but a willingness to see her for who she truly is: strong, resilient, and more than just the struggle she faces. She wants those around her to recognize that, even in her silence, there is a story. Her quiet moments are not signs of weakness, but reminders of her courage to keep moving forward. Understanding doesn't mean fixing, it means accepting her as she is in all her strength and vulnerability. Sometimes the best thing you can offer the woman who carries her pain in silence is empathy, not solutions. She doesn't need someone to swoop in and try to fix everything. Instead, she needs someone to acknowledge the weight she carries without trying to make it disappear. Empathy means being present with her in her struggle, offering support without pushing for a resolution. The strength it takes for her to stand in silence is immense. Offering empathy is a way to honor her journey, recognizing that sometimes the most healing thing you can do is to simply listen, to be there, without trying to change anything. Empathy creates space for her to feel seen and heard without the pressure to explain or justify her emotions. In the absence of trying to fix her, you give her permission to just be. The woman who carries her pain in silence is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. She teaches us that real resilience isn't always loud or visible. It's in the quiet moments and the strength to keep moving forward when the world doesn't see the battles being fought. Her silence is not a sign of weakness, it is the language of endurance. It is the quiet power that holds her steady even in the fiercest storms. Let us not mistake her silence for surrender or defeat. She carries her pain not as a burden, but as a badge of honor. Every challenge she faces, every hardship she endures, shapes her into the powerful woman she is, one who stands tall. Not because she has never fallen, but because she has learned to rise every time she does. And so as we reflect on the woman who carries her pain in silence, let us learn from her strength. Let us recognize that sometimes the greatest power is found in silence, in the strength to endure without needing others to understand. Her journey is not one of despair, but of quiet triumph, one step, one breath, and one day at a time.